Please make sure that the name we see on the screen is the name that you would like to have printed on your certificate of attendance for this evening. This is where our staff gets the names to create those certificates and get them sent along to you. Also, if you are comfortable doing so, we welcome and encourage you to share your video feed as it fosters a more intimate and engaging experience for us all. We do understand that there are occasions when that's not possible, and we're certainly understanding of that. If you haven't done so already, please join us on social media by following us at Beyond Benign. We are always excited when we see posts sharing not only our content being used, but also the innovative ideas created by our followers, as well as inspiring stories with the green chemistry community. I would like to remind everyone that by registering for the webinar series, you've agreed to our code of conduct. We're essentially asking for participants to be kind, accepting, and open to varying viewpoints and opinions. This series will be recorded, and while it's expected that the video feed will focus on the presenter, your voice and video feed could appear at some point. By attending this discussion, you give your consent to allow us to post video and/or sounds. As we launch into this webinar, we'd also like to pause for land acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge the unceded land on which Beyond Benign operates. We're located in the state of Massachusetts, which has been the traditional land of the Pawtucket and Massachusetts nations. We acknowledge the history of this land and encourage others to acknowledge the unceded lands and territories belonging to indigenous nations across the world and wherever you are tuning in from. We'd like to pause a moment also and give thanks to our sponsors, who are the ones who make this series all possible. Beyond Benign is an organization working to foster a green chemistry community that empowers educators to transform chemistry education for a sustainable future. It's our vision to ensure the chemical building blocks of products used every day are healthy and safe for humans and the environment. And we believe that education is the most powerful and critical component to achieving this. That's why we are committed to pioneering a paradigm shift across the continuum of science education. Beyond Benign works across this continuum by investing in educators, fostering peer support networks, and developing tools and resources at all levels. We inspire future chemists as well as educate and inform consumers and citizens with our open access K-12 curricula. We know that the core of our work starts with demystifying and sparking a curiosity and an interest in chemistry early on. Sparking that interest allows us to begin to lay the foundation for those needed green chemistry skills by educating future scientists and training the next generation of innovators. The goal is that by preparing 21st century chemists, they will be the agents of change as they innovate for sustainability and implement sustainable practices within industry. Global consumers feel strongly that industry should help improve the environment. The growth of the chemical market is expected to double by 2030. Therefore, there is a high demand for green chemistry skills in the workforce. If we expect the next generation of chemists to evoke real change and implement sustainable practices throughout industry, we need to support their education, preparation, and training. We're excited to feature dialogue this evening around the green chemistry teaching and learning community. This is going to be a great avenue to interact, connect, and learn from each other across the continuum to foster the needs of the next generation of chemistry inventors. On March 27th, MilliporeSigma, the US and Canada life science business of Merck KGaA, Darmstadt, Germany, a leading science and technology company, as well as Beyond Benign, announced an expanded partnership to increase global access to green chemistry education. This plan is to help transform chemistry education and better prepare next generation scientists with the skills to address sustainability through chemistry. Working together, MilliporeSigma and Beyond Benign will provide expanded access to resources as well as the support needed to apply greener practices in chemistry education. This contribution, along with the contributions of the founding sponsors listed here, will enhance our green chemistry and teaching learning community online platform, which you will hear more about this evening. The goal is that we will expand global access to resources and trainings for thousands of faculty members and hundreds of institutions reaching students worldwide. The combined efforts will advance the goal of Beyond Benign to provide green chemistry knowledge to an ever-increasing percentage of chemistry students at all levels around the world. Our goal tonight is to have an interactive session to continue to share with you a sneak peek at the GCTLC platform design and functionality. In part one of our series last month, we looked at the process of creating profiles on the platform, searching the library, and how to make resources submissions. If you were not in attendance for the last session and would like to catch up on that valuable information shared, we're going to put a link to the recording in the chat. It'll also be shared in the post-session information email. Tonight's session will focus on creating and fostering community spaces in the GCTLC platform. So please allow me now to introduce our guest presenter, Dr. Jonathon Moir, who is the Program Manager for the Green Chemistry Teaching and Learning Community. Jonathon is a passionate scientific researcher and professional with a keen interest in chemistry education and advancing sustainability and green chemistry across all levels of pedagogy and learning. He received his Bachelor's of Science honors from Queen's University in 2010 and his PhD from the University of Toronto in 2016 in organic chemistry with a focus on nanomaterials and electrochemistry. During his doctoral studies, Jonathon was a founding member of the Green Chemistry Initiative, a group of graduate students dedicated to promoting green chemistry principles and practices within the Department of Chemistry at the University of Toronto. In addition to co-leading the GCI's regular Green Chemistry Seminar Series and its 2015 annual symposium, Jonathon redeveloped a third-year undergraduate organic chemistry lab in collaboration with Professor Andy Dix to include more concepts related to green chemistry, and later attended the ACS Green Chemistry Summer School in 2016. Following graduate school, Jonathon transitioned to the not-for-profit sector, where he has helped manage and support the development of international interdisciplinary research programs, scientific projects, workshops, and symposia, as well as a national scholarship program in Canada for graduate students and postdoctoral fellows pursuing research in Canada's Arctic and northern regions. Jonathon is excited to be working together with Beyond Benign and the ACS GCI to lead the development of the Green Chemistry Teaching and Learning Community set to launch in August of 2023. Jonathon currently lives in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and enjoys sports of all kinds, including swimming, skiing, rowing, cycling, and weightlifting. If you have any questions at all during the presentation, please type those in the chat, and we'll have our team of lead teachers standing by to monitor and try to get those answered to you as quickly as possible. Now, I would like to turn over the dialogue this evening to our presenter, Dr. Jonathon Moir.
Thanks so much, Greg, for that very kind introduction. So good evening, good afternoon, depending where you're joining from, maybe even good morning. It's great to see everyone, and I'm very much looking forward to providing a part two set of presentations around the green chemistry teaching and learner community. This, as Greg mentioned, is going to focus a little more on certain aspects of the platform, a little more towards the community and networking and collaboration side. But I do want to provide a quick intro and some background information about it. So hopefully you can all see this slide deck, and I'm just going to walk through a couple brief things. I understand that this might be a little repetitive for some who have already been here and were here for the April meeting, but I do just want to quickly emphasize some important things. So we'll do this really quickly, and then we'll hop right into some actual demoing of the platform, and you'll get a chance to actually dive into it, create a user profile if you haven't before, as well as we'll look at some of the functional pieces of it. And then we'll have some time for focus questions after, and then a quick wrap up from Greg after that. So as Greg has already mentioned and provided that wonderful introduction for Beyond Benign, Beyond Benign has several core programs. Our K-12 program, as many of you are familiar with. Now this was, for example, our Lead Teach program, as well as various curriculum resources, professional development, our 1 and 3 credit courses. So those are all at the K-12 level, as well as our higher education level. That's our Green Chemistry Commitment Program, that third item down. That's a signatory program for universities and colleges to pledge to bring green chemistry into their institutions. But our third thrust is the GCTLC, and this is our new platform, which as a project was started only 2 years ago. But since then, we've been doing quite a lot of extensive work, working with a developer to build out this site. And so we're very excited for the launch of that happening this summer in August, as well as the chance to do some sort of pilot testing of the platform throughout June, July. So we're very excited for this. And again, you're going to get a sneak peek into this platform today. Now, before I get into the platform a little bit, I do want to emphasize the importance of communities of practice around green chemistry education and STEM education in general. The goal of this platform is really to help create and foster a community of practice in green chemistry. And so how do we do that? Well, first, we need to understand a little bit more about what is a community practice. For those who are probably familiar with it, many of you likely are, it's really just a group of people who, through a common sort of concern or passion, learn how to do something together as they interact regularly. It's important to distinguish this from things like social networks, which are a little more loosely defined. We can think of our favorite ones like Facebook, et cetera. It's also a little different from professional learning communities, which are more structured. So they tend to have a very specific purpose, and they tend to be organizationally located as opposed to a community-wide group of individuals. And then finally, community of transformation is really just a type of community practice. And there's been a lot of recent sort of research around these types of communities and the importance of them in helping to reform STEM education. And so what was observed in looking at a number of case studies of these types of communities is that they all share three common features. One is a compelling philosophy, and we'll actually look at our green chemistry teaching and learning community philosophy today. A living integration of that philosophy throughout all work and activities, and then a network of peers to break isolation, brainstorm, and sustain change. So with that, there's been a number of benefits that have been reported, especially from those studies that are cited at the bottom of the slide there. And it really does provide a wonderful sort of structure and place for individuals to come sort of challenge their norms about how teaching STEM can take place, and then through interaction with others, find better ways to approach it. So this is really our goal with the GCTLC, is to help create this type of space. And so the GCTLC is really going to be a platform by the community for the community. And so what we're planning to have here, and you'll see today, is, as Greg mentioned, an open access resource hub. And we did highlight that in the last session of Observe, Wonder, Think, but also connections to green chemistry professionals. And that includes through forums, through group structure, through events, through user profiles, and with the intention of expanding that functionality later. We will be looking at things like a formal mentorship program in the platform, a map function to be able to find users from all over the world, as well as a job board. And that will be present in the first iteration. So a lot of different pieces of functionality that will help to, in a combined effort, create that sense of community and help to really further the integration of green chemistry more widely. So I always have to present this slide because without the help of this group of amazing 19 individuals, this project would not have gotten to where it is today. And so a huge thank you to our leadership committee, one of whom is already on the call today with us, Ken. And so this group, which was really representing all levels of education, K-12 up to higher ed and college, as well as industry and information management, library services, they provided really the backbone of guidance and advice on how to structure the site. And so over the last 2 and a bit years, we've been working with them, and their insight has been invaluable in this. So really huge thanks to them. With their help, we did establish a mission vision for the platform as well as core values. So I won't read through them all here, but really the goal is to help foster that sense of belonging within an online shared space, creating that respectful space, as well as maintaining high excellence and quality of standards, ensuring transparency and integrity, equitable access, and fostering that innovation, discovery, and creativity. So we really are trying to stick to these values in everything that we do and how we build out the site. And you'll see the leadership committee also helped to support our philosophy statement, which I'll show you in momentarily. So for those who weren't here last time, I will briefly mention that we did scope a number of other platforms before building our own, and we wanted to get a good sense of what functionality was already out there, what was possible based on what other communities of educators and researchers have been doing. So you're welcome to have a look at some of these sites. Some of them are very good. The first one there is called EE Pro. That's for environmental education specifically. It has a lot of very similar features to the GCTLC. NanoHub is more specific for nanomaterials research, as well as data sharing and analysis. So it's a little more focused on the research side, but does have some very cool features in it as well. And then Cubes is more for undergraduate biology education, but same kind of structure, user profiles, groups, abilities to network, share upcoming events, post resources to their online open access library. So again, very much in line with the things that we were looking to do. So through consultations with them, through looking at various developers, we did land on a developer, which is Square. Square has been working diligently with us over the last 14 months to help build out the site and get it ready for launch this summer. So again, this is a bit repetitive from the last session, but for those who didn't see, we are planning to do several phases of development. So our first phase, we really did a lot of that scoping and planning in the first year. We did the start of the technical development last March. And through that process, we were doing a lot of promotion, build up, sessions like this, where we were bringing in various members from the community to give them a sense of what the platform will look like, getting their feedback. And then, of course, now we're in 2023, we are doing the beta testing and planning for that hard launch in August. So that will continue to build, and we will continue to expand on the functionality moving into 2024. We also anticipate a number of additional features coming in a phase 2 for this platform as well. And we hope to begin discussions around what that will look like in the coming months after we've launched. So for our phase 1, we have some major components and features in here. So we will have user profiles, as you'll see momentarily. The learning objects, that is the library of resources, curriculum, content, lab experiments, case studies, etc., will all be in there. The group's collaboration and networking, which includes the forums and the group structure, reporting, website design and flow, and then additional functionality on top of that. So these were really the critical core components that we determined were necessary with our leadership committee. And then, of course, additional features will be brought in a phase 2 later, but all of these features will be available in the August launch. Okay, so with that, I wanted to just take a quick second to see if there are any major questions about this before we would actually launch into sort of a demo of the platform and some of the functionality I just described. So any major questions or comments from any of the above? Nope. Okay. All right. So one thing I do want to emphasize first is our philosophy statement. So the importance of this cannot be understated. And the reason I want to show you this is because really the goal of this platform is to build community. So after reading through the literature around communities of practice, understanding what helps to create a community of transformation and what is that common philosophy, we realized that there really wasn't a place where a common philosophy around green chemistry education had been developed. It was really, there had been no formal statement about it anywhere, at least not that I could find. And so what we wanted to do with our leadership committee was create that statement as sort of a rallying point, a sort of a flag, if you will, if you want to use that analogy, but something around which people could say, I understand what the purpose of this platform is and what this community is trying to do. So with our leadership committee, we did a number of sessions where we brainstormed different things, what were the important aspects and points around green chemistry education. And what we came up with was the philosophy here. So I will read through this really briefly, but the main philosophy statement was that by teaching, learning, and practicing chemistry through the framework of green chemistry, we can achieve long-term sustainability and meaningful positive change for a healthier world. And so in the process of brainstorming, we broke this down into two parts. what became evident was how people felt about green chemistry and then why they felt it was important in education. So in the first part on the left, we understand that green chemistry is, and then a number of bullets. And so, for example, the first one is central to solving global sustainability challenges, such as the UN SDGs, is a morally and ethically responsible approach to science and chemistry, is proactive, innovative, and cost-effective, and can and should be integrated across all of chemistry. And so with that, we then just determined what were the points and important aspects around bringing green chemistry into education. So as a result, we believe it is critical that green chemistry be incorporated into education because education is key for creating positive change in society. It can help create holistic systems-based approach to learning and practice. It can inspire and empower individuals to take action toward making our world better. It can equip the current and future workforce with the knowledge and skills to make a difference. It can help to unite and elevate communities and support positive perceptions of chemistry. It allows for safer approaches to chemistry, research, and education. And then finally, education and green chemistry are both agents of positive change and must work together to create a better future. So with all of this, what we really hope to have is this has already been put up on the platform. We will have it on the site when it goes live. And we want this, again, to be that rallying point. Now, this may not be a static document. We will likely come back and revisit it with feedback from the community, and we'll probably try to do that on the regular. But for now, we felt like this was a very important thing to have, especially given what we're trying to do through community building through this site. Any major questions, thoughts on this before we dive into the platform? I'm not checking the chat, but I'm hoping that there are any major things that come up. Someone's going to flag me on them.
Yeah, we're monitoring, Jonathan. There's nothing
Okay.
else. Yeah, I'll let
Wonderful,
you know.
wonderful.
However, I am going to ask Michelle to drop a link to that document. Would you like to address what you'd like them to do with the document?
Sure. It's really just to reflect on it, and if there's any thoughts, any feedback, any kind of initial reactions as you're reading it, that would be great. We really just want some general ideas around it. Are there any major components missing? Does the language seem appropriate? So really just high level things as you kind of read through it.
You're talking about this is the feedback, questions and comments one that you're talking about?
Yeah, you can use the shared Google Doc. Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure.
Thank you.
All righty. So what I'm going to do, I'm also going to drop in the chat the link to the platform itself. And so we currently have the platform in what's called a staging instance. And so this just means that it's not live technically. Well, technically it is live. It's on the internet, so you can see it, but it's not the official live version of the site. The developers create multiple instances of a platform in order to do development, then progressively make it cleaner as they move from one instance to the next. And it helps to keep things separate. And as they're breaking code and trying to fix things, it doesn't impact other instances as we're going along. So currently we're in a staging site. So you can see the URL there in the chat. And I welcome everyone to actually go to the URL to their internet browser now, and just to follow along as we're doing this. And I'll walk you through very briefly sort of the homepage, the user registration process, because again, we've gone through that before, but I just want to make sure that everyone has a chance to try it out. And then we'll launch into a few of the more community-focused functional components of the platform. So this is the main web homepage for the site. You'll see at the top, there is a mega menu. And so this is an expanded menu where you can access all of the various pages on the platform. You will notice that a lot of the pages are not yet filled, and that's because we haven't fully completed them yet. However, I have started filling in some of them. So for example, you can see and read the philosophy statement, even if you're not logged in. And it's really just a copy of the PDF that I just showed all of you, where you can also download a copy there too. From that home page, you can also access the mission, vision, core values. We have our annual impact reports as well, which are available there and downloadable. And we have information about Beyond Benign. We will be including information about our code of conduct, our subcommittee from our diversity, equity, belonging, and respect group of individuals from our committee, as well as various other resources. So those will go in that about section. I will come back to the code of conduct in a second because that is also a very important document. We just haven't uploaded it yet, but we do have a draft version of it ready to go. Under the resources, this is where you'd be able to access the various curriculum materials as well as additional static resources. So under search full database, you'll be able to find the actual curriculum content, and I will briefly show it in a minute, but we won't go into detail on it today. But we will also be filling in all of these other pages with information about what is green chemistry, the 12 principles, connections to various other sustainability themes and topics, as well as some additional content around higher ed resources, K-12 resources, et cetera. Finally, the community page, which we'll look at more in depth today. There are various links here. You can find other users on the platform through the people link. You can access the forums, the groups as well. Now, the groups are still under construction. I will show them briefly today, but they're not finished yet. And so we're still working on those with our developer, but we'll have a sneak peek very quickly at what they're generally going to look like. We also have a community-driven events calendar, as well as a jobs and internships board. So those are the major components that have been built out. We will, again, also have these other pages available as we build out the static content over the next month or two. Okay, so within the homepage, you can access a number of sort of quick links through the sort of action-oriented menu here as you scroll down a little bit. We also talk a lot about the importance of the power of transformation through community building and through communities of practice. We also really want to emphasize the importance of sense of belonging, diversity, equity, and respect within the platform. It then provides some samples of various user profiles. So these are some of the test users that have already come in. There will be a section for groups, and again, linking to the various groups on the platform. Events as well, which you can also access through the events calendar in the menu, and the jobs and internships board. That's pretty much it. We'll have additional sponsor logos down here. They're currently still being built in, so they're not quite finished yet. You may see them actually on your page. They're just not on mine. And that's sort of it for the homepage. In order to create an account, or if you want to log in, you just click up on the top right corner, log in or sign up. Now it can autofill if you already have an account, or if you'd like to create a new one, just click create new account. And it will walk you through the steps to do this. I won't walk through it as we've done that in the last session, but just so you're aware, there are some basic required fields that we do need to create the account for you. Many of the rest are just optional. You are required to provide an institution, but if you're not affiliated at the time, you can also say not affiliated. Currently, we have a database of institutions in there. If your institution does not show up, then you can also just click create new institution, and you can fill in the remaining details for that, and it will get added to our database of schools. Select your career stage, and then some additional optional questions, really about demographics, how you heard about the platform. You can also invite other colleagues to join if you'd like, and then you'll need to agree to the code of conduct terms and conditions. Right now, again, these are just blank documents. We haven't yet populated them yet, but you do have to do that in order for the form to submit. So feel free to actually go through that process now. And if you'd like to fill in that form, you will then get an email. The email will then provide you with a link to a one-time link, which will allow you to create your password. And then once you've created your password, you'll be able to access your user dashboard. Very quickly, I will just sign in with one of my test accounts. And once you are signed in, you'll see that it will bring you to your user dashboard. You'll see a number of options on the left-hand side, and all of these will access different parts of the site, which we'll talk about momentarily. If you would like to add additional information, most of you, your profile will be a little more empty than this. So you just go to the bottom and click edit. And in the page it brings you to, you can add additional info. So you can add your job title, your pronouns. You can indicate whether you'd like your email shared or not. This will just turn it on and off in your user dashboard. You can add a headshot or other bio pic. You can also change any answers to those demographic questions, which don't appear on the user profile. You can add a bio. You can add any spoken languages, additional URLs for social media accounts, You can add your keyword tags as your expertise, and this is again a searchable database. So feel free to start typing and you can select from the options that drop down. You can add your interests, your ongoing projects, any professional activities, and that's pretty much it. So once you're ready, you can just update profile and you'll see those changes come back in your user dashboard. From that dashboard, you can also access a number of things. So if you want to access any learning objects that is your curriculum content that you've submitted to the platform, that will all show up here in various tables. You will also be able to access any groups that you're a part of. And again, we'll touch on these really briefly today, but these will get listed here. Any jobs or events that you might do. So I just added this one earlier today. There's a conference coming up in October, and we'll walk through a little bit how to do events too. And then any additional professional activities. So you could have published articles, you could have patents, you could have courses that you've completed, you could have any other type of professional activity you can think of could go in there. That's pretty much a real quick view of the user dashboard. If you have, or if you'd like to change any of your account settings, including your password, you can do that through here, as well as your time zone. There will eventually be a button to be able to remove your account if you wish to deactivate it. We just haven't installed that one yet, but it will be in there too. Yeah, I think that's kind of it for just quick run through the dashboard. Any major questions, and feel free to unmute as well if you'd like to just ask directly. Nope, okay. Feel free to keep playing with it too, and if anything comes up and you want to ask something, or if you notice something isn't working, let me know as well, because it is still a beta version of the site, so we still come across little glitches here and there. Okay, I will not talk in depth about the library, but I do want to mention it. So if you go to resources and go search full database, you will come to the GCTLC library. So this will be where all of the curriculum content will live. Right now, again, it's just a lot of test objects, so we don't have a lot of our actual resources in here, but Beyond Benign will be moving our resources into the site. This one is an example of one of the ones that we actually do have on our website. So this is a reactions lab for high school level, talks about different types of traditional reactions, looking at the difference between synthesis, decomposition, single displacement, double displacement, et cetera. So provides a look at the safety and hazard and risk assessment information, tells you the audience, the object type, who it's intended for, when it was accepted, when it was published. You'll have the files associated with it too, which you can link to and download directly from here. Note that you do have to be a registered user in order to download any files. So you can search through the library if you're not registered, but you just can't access the content if you're not. You can assign Creative Commons licenses. You can also link to or tag any green chemistry principles or UN SDGs associated with it. The learning goals, student objectives, common pedagogies covered, the time required, and then you'll also see who submitted the content as well as who reviewed the content. And so there is a built-in review process just to ensure that any objects submitted to the site do align with green chemistry and are appropriate for the level that they are coming in at. So that review is necessary just to make sure that we have some accountability for the content that we are putting up in the site. That's really quick overview. You can submit resources to the site if you're a registered user too, and that would be through the submit a resource link. But again, I won't talk about that because we did look at it in detail last time. All right, any major questions there? I know I'm walking through things pretty quickly, but I am trying to give you a very good snapshot of the whole site. So no major questions. Okay. All right, so if you've created a user profile, you can also find other users through the people page and the community. So this is now focusing a little more on the community side of the site. So in the people page, you'll be able to see other users, and you'll be able to search as well based on if you are looking for other K-12 teachers, if you're looking for anyone who is maybe a volunteer or a university, college faculty, whatever. You can also search by institution or search by name if you're looking for anyone in particular. And so these filters are all customizable. If there's any that are missing, we'll make sure to bring them in. But we have a number of individuals on here that have already created accounts. And so you'll see some of your accounts are already in here, which is great. So you can search by that. You can search by name. I might just go by Annette. Oops. And then I can see Annette's profile if I'd like to go in. I can see any of the learning objects that she has also submitted or has in progress on the site, any groups that she might be a part of, any events or job postings that she may have put up. So that is one way to be able to find members of the community. You can also search directly from the top menu. So if I'm up here in the top menu, just click on the search button. I can just type Annette and it will come up with her account, and I can again go to her user profile. So the community page again will be the main place to find others on the site. And again, if you'd like to be contacted, you can opt to provide your email on your user profile. But again, that is completely optional and up to the user to decide. All right. Talk a little bit about forums. So right now the forums are a little bit messy just because we're in the process of still building out the functionality for the groups. So you'll notice that there are a number of forums in here that are specific to groups. So all these ones that say open to everyone test, these are all just test forums that are being created for groups specifically. The problem is they're just not hidden yet, but they should only be accessible to groups. So right now they're appearing here when they shouldn't. That's the only thing. But the goal for the forums will be to have site-wide places for individuals to come and ask questions, post sort of ideas, be able to have discussions. And most of those main sort of forum topics are all here. So we'll have one specifically for general Q&A, getting started, Green Chem 101, K-8, high school, higher ed, toxicology, greener labs, pedagogy and teaching, and then technical issues. So all of that will be here in these set of forums in the list. Again, most of the others will be removed before we actually get to the live site. I did create some for testing workshops back in April. So you're welcome to actually go to some of these. You could go to testing workshop number 2, and you can see that we've created sort of just a test area to be able to provide comments, but you can comment directly at the bottom, add your comment to the thread. You can also reply to any of the comments that have already been made. You can add additional things, including images or multimedia type of things. You can add GIFs as well if you want to do that. You can also upload files, I believe. Yep, documents, videos, etc. So you can upload those directly to the forum if you wanted to do it that way. You'll see, again, it's a little messy. We're going to continue to improve on the sort of layout of it to make it a little more user-friendly. But for the time being, this will have sort of the basic function of being a sort of a site-wide place to be able to ask questions and come and interact. So feel free to kind of play with it. Feel free to post comments if you'd like. Right now, they're fully open. We can also create an option to make the comments require approval before they go up. And that would just really to be avoid spam, things like that, which we know can be a major issue for a lot of online platforms. That's it for the forums. I want to talk briefly about events too. So we'll look at the events calendar. Now this is going to be a community-driven calendar space. And so Beyond Benign will be trying to, as best as possible, populate this with all upcoming events. That includes workshops, conferences, courses, webinars, you name it. We already have in here, for example, our Green Chemistry Connections. This is, again, a test. So we've only done test things, but we've been using real events to try to get a sense of what it looks like. So our Green Chemistry Connections are in here. We could add Observe, Wonder, Think in here too. We have a number of conferences coming up this summer, so we also have been adding those. So those are all searchable in here. Right now, the filters are not working. You're probably going to get an error message if you try to filter by conference. So don't worry too much about that for now. We know that there's an issue, so we're working to kind of resolve that. But you can search by event description, by keywords, by the event type, etc. And if you'd like to submit an event, you can also do that through the main menu. So just above the events calendar, click on create an event, and you'll be able to walk through the process. You'll need the title, the event type. Hosting organization is optional, but it does have to be from our database. Event date, event format, either hybrid, in-person, or virtual, description, the intended audience. You can add additional keywords. We'll probably make this a searchable field just because it's a lot. There's a lot of options there. You can add more information, the event registration link, et cetera, et cetera. You can also add tag lead organizers if there are other GCTLC users in here that you want to tag. And then you can save as draft or you can submit it. And just note that once you save it, it will actually show up in your user profile, in your user dashboard as well. It will come up here. And then you'll be able to track the status of it. Once you submit it, it will just need to go through a really quick approval to make sure that it's relevant for green chemistry education. And then it'll get put up on the site once it's published. That's sort of a quick run through for the events. Again, we're trying to create a community-driven calendar that's going to make it an easy place to find all things related to green chemistry and green chem ed. That's sort of simple and easy to find. So that's a goal for this particular part of the site. Any major questions so far? Nope, pretty straightforward. Okay. Oh, yep, Scott, go ahead.
Is there a browse as guest mode available for those who might not want to register since there are no terms and conditions at this time?
So yes, we are being careful not to share the site too widely just because it's not the final version of the site. So I don't want to give people the wrong impression of what it's going to look like if they're coming and kind of perusing the staging version. Once it's live, then of course we're going to share that, and that'll be coming in early June. So, but in the meantime, yeah, if you log out, you can still access most things. You just can't contribute content. So if you are not logged in, you can still go to the events calendar and you can still look at any of the upcoming events. You just can't submit one to be included in the calendar until you've actually registered. But all that information is still accessible to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right, back to that one. Okay, so we're going to touch really briefly on groups, just because I know that we're going to sort of run on out of time quickly. But so groups is still under construction. This is not quite ready yet. As you can see, the layout is not quite there, and we're still working on some of the functionality within the group spaces themselves. But we've created a number of test groups so far, and you'll see that when you want to create a new group, there are a number of different options available to you. So the options available really depend on two things. One is the visibility, and the other is the access. So if it is open, that simply means that any registered user can join. And you do have to have a user account in order to join a group. So if it's open, anyone can opt to just join. You just click join group and it will allow you to do so. If it's by request, then you will need to click request to join, and that will need to get approved before you can actually join the group. Finally, invitation only. You can't request to join and you can't join yourself. You must have someone invite you to join the group for that to happen. And this would be a space where there's maybe more discretion or privacy is needed. And based on discussions with our leadership committee, it was determined that that was something that we did want to have in there. And Scott and Ken were part of, we're in the leadership committee too. And so these discussions sort of happened throughout the year, and sort of, we wanted to kind of get a sense of what were the needs of different groups that might be coming in. The second part is about visibility. So if it says public, then that would be visible to anyone, including anonymous visitors who don't have a registered account. Now, again, they can't join the group if they don't have a registered account, but they can still see what's in the group, the comments, any sort of associated events or learning objects or things like that. If it's community, then that's specific to the users. And if it's group only, then it's only the group members that can see the content. So again, that is the most restrictive visibility. And invitation only, group only would be the most restrictive type of group. So if you were to create a group, you could say, let's create an open public one. You'll need just a group name, potentially an image to go along with it, the description, any keywords, the intended audience, institution type, if that's applicable. So for example, if it's a group specifically for your institution, or you want to create a group for your school, then you could select some options here and it will allow you to tag that. Green chemistry tags, UNSDG tags. So again, a lot of just tagging to make searchability easier. Some rationale for the group creation. Why do you want to create this group? Why is it unique? You know, is this sort of an area that's not currently being covered by other groups on the platform? And then opportunity to also hide the group from the search. So we haven't fully tested all of this yet, including the hiding group part, but we did want to make that option available too. Then as you save, you're going to submit it. It will then go to an admin who will then have to review it before they approve it, and then the group can be created. As soon as you fill in this form and create the group, the person who submits the form becomes the moderator for the group. And so they will be the ones who are responsible for example, if it is a request to join, that moderator would be the one who would have to approve users to be able to join the group, and they would get the requests for that. So that's the basic sort of idea of the form. Excuse me. Again, we haven't had a chance to run through this fully because the functionality is still not finished. But this is the general sense of how it's going to work. And again, we're going to be continuing to do some testing on these towards the end of this month, as well as into next month. So once you do create a group, I'll just go back and use one of the existing test ones. Okay, so for example, this is an open public test group, so anyone can see this, and any user on the GCTLC can also join it. So you'll see the group description at the top, any of the keywords, the intended audience, et cetera, that information will be there. This content is going to get cleaned up. So right now it's currently a lot of the content that's supposed to be sitting in these tabs. So you'll see the tabs on the left. There'll be spaces to see the members of the group. And for example, right now it's just a table. We'd like to eventually make that a grid where you can actually see the users' profiles, but that's there. These files should not be here. So they're also in the process of moving that. We'll have forum topics. And again, this will be the discussion spaces. So these are where we're going to be creating those places, but right now they're appearing in the wrong part of the platform. So again, we're just cleaning up as we're going, making sure that the functionality is where it needs to be. There will be also the chance to have learning objects tied to groups, job postings, events, articles, and files. And so with the files, that will also include any PDFs or things like that. So for example, this one is a PDF that we just uploaded as a test, but you can provide any description and then be able to download it straight from there. So anyone who wants to share files in here, you could also do it through an article too. So if you wanted to write sort of something around an article, you can provide the description here, and then you can add in a link to any documents in here as well. So this is sort of, again, the basic version of groups for now, but we're still working on building out many aspects of this, and that's going to continue throughout the summer as we get close to our hard launch in August. So that's a really quick overview. I know we haven't gotten into a lot of the in-depth part of it, and unfortunately we don't have a lot of time to do actual testing and walking through certain things, but I just wanted to give you a snapshot of a lot of the stuff in here. So are there any major kind of questions, reactions as we've been walking through things that jump out at you as that looks great or that looks awful? Anything and everything as you're kind of walking through this, as you're playing with it. I'm certainly very open to feedback on it. So any major thoughts or questions before we kind of jump into one or two targeted questions?
Will the moderator of the group get communication and notices through the email they've signed up with, or do they have to go into the platform and look for them?
Yeah, so they should get them through their email that they've signed up with. So their the account email that they've used, saying that a user has signed up. And so we want to build in that workflow of moderation. And I just have to, again, go through the testing with the developers to make sure that's all clean. But yes, that is the goal. any other major questions or thoughts here? Again, parts of the site are still kind of being built out, so we're not quite fully there yet, but you can see kind of where the direction of this is going, where sort of we're hoping to land in terms of content, in terms of what groups can do, what community user profiles can do, where the forums will go. And again, we're planning to do some cleaning of the design as well. Certainly the tables are not my favorite, so I do want to try to clean those up a little bit over the next 4 to 6 months as we continue to build out additional parts of the site even after launch. So
people are still, I hope, a few people have written some questions, not in the chat, but in the document, which is great, or comments more, and some requests. So, but please, people, use that document. If you're not feeling, if you're not wanting to share right now and you're reflecting on things, please use that document, because I will really help.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I might do is jump into maybe 1 or 2 targeted questions, and I'm going to try to kind of keep it to just a couple minutes. So our first kind of major target question, just based on what you've seen really briefly, really is just about generally what do you like and what would you be interested in sharing. So are there any parts of the site you would be most likely to use or want to use, or even to share with others? What are kind of the major things that jump out at you that at least would be useful for your own purposes in your classroom and your teaching? And feel free to unmute, or you can drop them right into the document, as Michelle mentioned.
Or into the chat too.
Or into the chat, yeah, wherever you like. We'll capture all of them. And I mean, this can be very generic. It can be very specific. I really like the events tagging of XYZ, or I want to use the library generally. Whatever, just let us know, because we'd love the feedback.
And people so far have mentioned, encouraging people to go in and find the green chemistry resources and comments, and then loving the idea of being able to look through Beyond Benign created or collaborated labs via the framework. And a few comments about the standards, and then they want to access as much as possible a series of scaffolded activities that lean on hands-on learning for students. Okay. And there was some question about the green 12 principles of green chemistry being translated into younger groups.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good question. That would be maybe specific to one of Beyond Benign's existing resources on our site, or just generally, how do we translate the 12 principles into language, or maybe concepts that might be a little more appropriate for that age level?
Jonathan, I think they already exist. It's in that conservationist magazine, the Kids Conservation.
Oh, okay.
Kid Conservationist. There's a kiddie version of the 12 principles. I can try and find.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, if you have a copy of it somewhere, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Scott.
I was also going to add in to Annette's comment. It's also in the tape lab, like literally the section where it has elementary green chemistry. There are distillations of the 12 principles for the elementary school students.
Okay, awesome. Great. Yeah.
And sorry, also I saw a question in the chat about will the lessons be aligned with NGSS? Absolutely. They are largely already aligned with NGSS. That was part of our intention in designing the labs.
Yep. Yeah, so yes, correct. Yeah, the vast majority of Beyond Benign's K-12 content on the site, I believe, has NGSS standards already built in. And I know, working with Annette right now and one other colleague reviewing the K-12 resources, they're fully integrated in there. So we did want to make sure that was still captured. We don't have like a drop-down list of the standards, so that would be maybe a future development, but the standards do change regularly. So right now it's just a text field, but at least it is there and it is searchable. So okay, just looking at the chat, idea groups. Okay, yep.
Quick question about if we created a project previously, like I worked with Impossible Foods, we created the Plate to Planet curriculum.
Yes.
Will things like that be automatically put on the site, or do we go ahead and put that on?
Yeah, great question. So anything that's on Beyond Benign site right now, that's a resource we have, our plan is that we're going to migrate it to the GCTLC. But if it's not on Beyond Benign site right now, then it might not, it may not end up getting over. So we may have to rely on others who have built them out if they're not currently listed there, if we don't have them in our list, to be then uploading them once the site is live. Because yeah, we have a lot of resources. We don't have all of them. And if there are some of them on your hard drive or wherever, and they haven't yet been uploaded, feel free to upload them once the site is live. Because yeah, we want to make sure they're captured too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, Greg, I know that I wanted to give you that last 5 minutes to do your wrap up. So I think I'll leave it there. But this was really great. And I really appreciate everyone's feedback on all of this. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All righty. Thank you so much. I just can't even fathom the number of hours that have gone into getting it this far already. So we appreciate all the work that you're doing on that. And as I fumble here to get back to my presentation, the person whom I always forget to thank, and I need to do this as this is sort of wrapping up the season, is Michelle. You guys don't realize how much she does behind the scenes to get us to this point and through this point and to get stuff out to y'all after we meet. So a big thank you and a big round of applause to Michelle.
It's so kind. Thank you.
No, it's not kind. It's just true. I mean, you always hear people say, I couldn't do it without you. And like, this is one of those cases, this would not happen without Michelle back there. So as we wrap up, a reminder that we do offer virtual professional development opportunities for middle and high school teachers over the summer. Optional graduate credit for each courses are available. And we have some sponsorships available for teachers in New York, Oregon, Washington State, and for those from an environmental justice community. So please share this information with colleagues that you may know in those areas. More information as well as dates and times can be found by scanning the QR code on your screen or by going to beyondbenign.org and searching for online courses. Also, remember to check out our upcoming events as well as other resources that we share online. The mission of Beyond Benign is to foster a green chemistry community that empowers educators to transform chemistry education for a sustainable future. In order to gauge the success of our efforts, we ask for those who have engaged with Beyond Benign in any way this year to take about 10 minutes to fill out our annual community survey. There are surveys for K-12 teachers, administrators, higher education representatives, as well as industry professionals. So we're going to drop those links in the chat now if you want to bookmark them, but we'll also be including them in the post-session follow-up email as well. We're looking for information regarding your engagement with programs, events, and resources from Beyond Benign. You will have the opportunity to let us know about any personal or professional growth you've gained with respect to peer support and leadership, as well as student engagement and impact. Of course, we're always seeking feedback regarding satisfaction with and implementation of our resources. There's an open-ended response section for you to share your personal reflection regarding our programs and to give us suggestions and feedback on any diversity, equity, belonging, and respect issues. Of course, these types of responses are optional, but your voice is important to us, and we encourage your analysis. The survey will help us measure our programs and the effectiveness to support you, your peers, and your students. We would not be able to do the work we do without the ideas and feedback from our community. We ask that you please complete these surveys by June 30th of this year so we can report the findings in our annual report. Thanks again to all of our sponsors for making this monthly series possible. One last time, thanks again to Jonathon for sharing his time and his talents and his positive energy for green chemistry. But most importantly, let's give credit where credit is due. We cannot thank you, the participants, enough for tuning in, sharing your time, and being present in the discussions we've had around the green chemistry community this season. It's been my pleasure to have hosted such important and engaging conversations. We've seen 20 to 35 participants for each webinar during the series, including members from K-12 and higher education communities, as well as industry professionals, for a cumulative total of 274 registrants. 13 presenters have discussed no less than 7 topics, including curriculum support, social justice, and cultural relevance. Some of you have even been here for every one of those presentations, and we've had representation from 33 states, 26 countries, spanning 6 continents. It's been your dedication and commitment that has made this series a success, and all of us at Beyond Benign want to express our gratitude for your support. Please keep an eye out for communication in your inbox regarding next year's series. We'll be on a short hiatus for the summer, which will allow us time to plan for the 23-24 series. We look forward to seeing you again in the fall. Please share the word with your colleagues. And if you find yourself thinking that you would like to share at an Observe, Wonder, Think event next year, please reach out. We are actively looking for presenters and would love to hear from you. For now, thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again in the fall. Good night and be well.
And thanks to Greg. Thanks so much to Greg for facilitating this. And put in the chat, you can see all of the playlist of all of the Observe, Wonder, Things from all of these wonderful presenters on YouTube, and we'll be sending you the playlist link in your follow-up email.